he was the one who could feel that such an occasion would never arise again. So, yeah. But films were very expensive then. So, it wouldn't fit into the budgets of people,
Yeah.
So, Harry Canmore was there, and he was, I think, he had to inaugurate the afternoon session with the Parvardigar prayer. And he hardly needed the mic, such a booming voice he had. So Harry's love for Baba was really unique, because not only was he blind, but he was really very hard of hearing also. So it was a real it was a real job for Airaj whenever he came to satisfy Harry, because he couldn't see, and Baba would, whenever Baba would sit, Baba would make him sit very close to him, on his right side. And Baba would keep patting him on his legs, and just to give him a sort of closeness, And sometimes Baba would joke with Harry. He says, "Oh, you have a very rough shave. See my shave." And then he would hold Harry's hand like this and make him feel his forehead. And Harry would laugh. "Ho, ho, ho. My pop is cheating," he says. You knew that he was...
You couldn't fool him.
Yeah. So it was a smooth forehead, See how smooth my shave is? And he liked that joke, He would call Baba Pop, my Pop. Yeah. And he paid several visits to India. The first was, of course, after the accident. I think I had mentioned that previously, when he came to treat Baba. He was a chiropractor, and he lessened Baba's pain to a considerable extent. And he was the one who detected the uneven length of his feet after the accident, and so a heeled chappal was made thereafter, which lessened Baba's pain considerably. Just a few centimeters made all that difference, Yeah. And there was a very devoted Baba lover named what was his name? Doifode, Shankar Rao Doifode. He was a cobbler, and he, with his own hands, would stitch these chappals for Baba of very soft suede leather. So you'll see the later chappals, very, very soft suede leather, hand stitched, and with this big heel made of cork. Despite the big height, the chappals were extremely light. Yeah.
Which was the foot, the leg which was shorter?
The right one.
The right one.
The right hip was injured, So it had,
second accident.
So some shrinking of the foot had occurred, and there was a limp. So Baba would walk with that limp,
There's a Baba lover who had studied under, in society studied under Harry, who showed a little bit, who knows a little bit of the technique that Harry used to do with respect to, legs being of different lengths. I saw this fellow do it with Bao, and it was quite remarkable, I must say. You could see the difference, and he would, the amount of impact was like about that much, even though the whole process of doing it was like quite extraordinary process. And after it, there was a discernible difference.
Yes. So
you had learned this from Harry.
So Harry was remarkable in that, yes. And he didn't know what he could do for Baba. So the more he tried to do something, he felt that he could do so much more. And despite his terrible disability of the total blindness, that wouldn't come in the way.
Yeah.
And he would, the first opportunity would come to Baba, spending thousands. He was really madly in love with his pop. Baba could evoke that love from him. Yeah, it was a gift of Baba to him. And I think I read somewhere that the first time that he had Baba's darshan, he couldn't see Baba, so he requested permission to feel Baba's body, and Baba allowed him to do that. And he had such a delicate touch, despite being a very rugged and rough, tough person. His fingers were extremely sensitive and very delicately he would handle his patients. So he felt Baba all from head to toe, and that was like seeing Baba to him. Yeah. And he could, later on I think he mentioned to Erich that how he could visualize the great beauty of Baba's form and the delicate nature of his whole body and all that. Yeah. So sensitive were his fingers. So yeah, he was a great person. When there was a darshan program of just a person was to come and see Baba only for an hour and go back. And Harry booked his passage, his return passage, mind you, for the same day. So he visited Baba, and all of a sudden we saw him in the queue at Guru Prasad. There he was standing in line, unattended, all alone by himself. And he came there, had Baba's darshan, and was there for a few minutes. Baba made him sit, didn't allow him to go back. But then he went back the same day. And at the airport, the people started to question, "Sir, how come you were just here?" So he said, "Yes, I had an appointment with my pop, and that was the reason I came, and I'm going back." And he flew back the same night. Such was his love for Baba. Yeah.
Well, I think I had that today.
Yeah. Okay. So let's call it a day.
Okay. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai. Jai Baba.
This is Halloween Day, October 31st, 1994, just before Diwali. And I'm here with Will David and Meherwan Jessawala on still the 14th tape of one more saga of the Great One's life.
Yes.
And last time we were up through the East-West Gathering in 1962.
Yeah.
And concluded, I think we pretty well concluded that.
I think we're almost through it. As far as I remember, I was telling about Harry Kenmore and his exploits in his own land as well as in India, and how he would come so often to India unaided by anybody. Yes, he was a fiercely independent person, and the slightest show of sympathy or trying to help used to annoy him. Yes, he was really on his own. He wanted to be on his own, So, and he would tell Erich how he managed to do these things. He said that he had to commit everything to his memory, because if he didn't concentrate on where he kept things or what he did with them, they were lost to him forever. Yes, he was...
Possessions and all
whatever.
that. Yeah.
So each and everything he had to commit to memory, he said. And so therefore he would never allow his things to be touched by anybody else. And woe be gone to people who ever dared to do that. Yeah. So even his socks, he would see that they were properly paired, they didn't get mixed up. And if anything happened, he would never know then.
Yeah.
So this is how he would tell Eraj how he got over his terrible handicap of sightlessness.
And he was never married or anything like that?
No, never.
So he had no one to help him in that way?
Yeah, I don't know, but he might have been married earlier because he had a daughter.
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know about his earlier life, yeah. But as far as when we were concerned, he was just on his own, and this is how he would do things, yeah. And he was very outgoing and forthright, very blunt. But inwardly, of course, for Baba, he was totally all for Baba. And Baba also tried to give him as much as possible of his love. So when he would come to Baba, Baba would make him sit close to him, wherever Baba sat, just besides him. And every now and then Baba would pat him there and reassure him that he is close to his pop. He would call Baba his pop, you know. And a regular routine would be, Baba would feel his chin and say, Kenmo, you haven't shaved properly. Feel mine. And he would hold his hand and make him feel the forehead. And he would guffaw loudly, ho, 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 my pop is cheating me. Because it would be smooth here, you know. So such things would be there, yeah. And then, of course, there was a time later on when Baba had given out the circular for another savas of the Westerners. And Baba that time sent word to Harry that he should not come for that savas, because Baba said, I wouldn't be able to pay attention to you, so I will call you later. Sometime, somewhere, I will call you. And then after that, Baba passed away, you know. And the 1969 darshan did take place in Baba's physical absence, but very much his presence was felt by everybody in that darshan, despite his physical absence and all that. But Harry Canmore did not come for that, because as per Baba's instructions. But then he came a little later, I think, towards October or November of that year, and he was with Eraj for a pretty extended stay, and Eraj gave him all his time and energy. He would be with Harry from morning till night probably.
Must have been exhausting.
Yeah, very exhausting, no doubt. Take him for walks, and while on the walks or while here, always giving of all Baba stories, and he's got miles and miles of really good Baba stories from Eraj, which I think, no, he used to carry what he called his baby, my baby. So he would put it in his pocket here, and it would be a wire recorder. A thin stainless wire was there, and it could take miles and miles of recording, literally hours. And then he would go every evening to his hotel or wherever he would be, or his room. And then in the night, he would put that back on tape. So transcribe it on tape.
Oh.
And then the wire would be ready for the next...
So the same wire, it was just a one-day thing.
Transcribe. He could keep using it for a very long time, but this is what he would do. Probably he never did it every day, or what he did, I'm not sure, but he used to transcribe it on tape.
I wonder where all that stuff is.
So now I hear that all that is very safe. Anna Rosa had all that, and it might come out later. But by Baba's grace, it's all intact. And Baba world will be blessed with a lot more of information, because at that time Ered's memory was very fresh, and he was full of those early stories and all that. So we might be fortunate enough to hear some of those tapes later. So I'm reminded of this because when he visited Meherazad at that time, Ered once took him for a walk, as usual, down the private road and further. So while they were there on the Vambori road, they were talking about how Kenmore was saying, Baba had given me this promise, my Pop had given this promise to me that he would meet me somewhere, sometime, and I'm sure he'll do that. He'll never let me down, and all his usual blustery voice, And just then, Ered says from the distance he saw a farmer approaching, quite a tall person and quite stately looking, an unusual sort of person for a farmer of the locality, So he just comes straight to where they were walking. And Ered was very worried about this thing happening, because if anybody touched Harry, his natural impulse would be to throw anybody out of his way, He had that reflex. So thinking that might happen and this man could get hurt or something, he tried to stop him. So this man comes straight towards Harry. So Harry says, "What's the matter?" So Ered says, "No, there's somebody who wants to greet you." And this man is extending his hand to Harry. So Ered says, "Here's some farmer, I think, who wants to greet you, Harry. He wants to shake your hand." So then Harry gives him his hand and they shake hands. And then Ered says that he was surprised. After that, this man does a sort of a caressing of Harry's face, And Harry doesn't say anything. And Ered is surprised that he allows a person to touch him like this. And that's all. And Ered says, "Baba, who are you? Where do you come from?" He says, "I've come from this village and I'm going here. I'm just wishing you all, that's all. I'm on my way." And he just walks by, And they go on ahead. And then Ered was so busy with his talk, so he proceeds to proceed with the talk where it was interrupted, And as he started to talk, he suddenly realized the unusualness of the incident that occurred. And he looked back to see whether that man was still walking away, and there was nobody there. There was no man there. And the road was clear, there were no turns or no trees or anything to hide a person. So he mentions this to Harry, and Harry suddenly becomes very grim and silent. The rest of the way he was very sullen, he wouldn't talk. And then I don't know what happened to him. So they both came back, and the whole day he locked himself up in the room. And in the evening he comes out and he tells Airaj, I think it was my pop who visited me. And I couldn't make out at the time, and I'm feeling so low and rotten or some such thing, he said. Then he began to describe that the way he felt his hand, Harry had this feeling of touch, very sensitive. So he says that his hand was unlike a farmer's, it was so soft and velvety to the touch. And the way he caressed my face, and I was reminded at that time of my pop, and I'm sure it was he who visited me, and he has kept his word with me. So Baba here says, now cheer up, Harry. So then he perked up again, and then, yeah. But he was rather disconsolate. And the biggest, the way he felt very bad about was that he had immediately shut off his baby. It was on, So when Airaj stopped the man, Harry impulsively would stop the button. So nothing was on tape.
Didn't tape
nothing.
The whole conversation.
Yeah, so it was Baba's another little trick, not to leave it on tape, his voice or anything. Yeah. So Airaj describes the incident very nicely. Yeah. So this was our Harry.
And he didn't live much longer. He died.
Yeah, I think in a year or two later.
71 or something.
Yeah, he couldn't bear the separation of his pop, and he just passed away quickly. Yeah. Yes. So this was our Harry. Then, so we are now at the close of the East-West gathering. I think we fairly covered all the events. I don't know whether I mentioned about Baba taking, allowing a group photo.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So that was in one of the morning sessions, Baba allowed a group photo to be taken. We can see that on the film. Baba is coming out of Guru Prasad holding, I think, Lad Dimple's hand or something.
Yeah. And it's a group photo of Westerners?
Yes, Westerners. First it was the women, I think.
Yeah.
So Baba comes out of the main hall in the front, goes down the steps, and there's a front little space and, to the left, on either side of the porch.
Yeah.
So when descending, he goes to the left, and there's this open space there. Baba's chair is placed, and they all stand around him. And it was quite sunny and hot, so Baba feels so concerned about all the people there. And we see Baba gesturing that it's so hot, quick, take the photograph quick. The photographer was doing all the adjustments, and Baba was rather impatient.
Yeah, that's in what you described, it's in the film.
Yeah, that's right. So he's saying the sun is shining and they'll feel hot. He's worried about his lovers, there. And I wonder whether this group photo who took it and where it is and whether it's available. But it must be a very nice photo.
Yeah.
But it's come well on the film also.
The film, it's a beautiful one there. Yeah.
So there are two sessions. Then he walks back with the men, first with the women, and then all this was done. So one of the morning sessions was that. Yeah. So that fairly covers the East-West gathering. There must be so many other things, but what I could
recall.
Yeah.
So a lot of people speak very movingly about when Baba left in his car that very last day of the East-West gathering. Were you there for that?
No, that last day Baba didn't leave. Baba was at Guru Prasad because the Westerners were to be brought here, I mentioned about their visit. That was on the 6th or 7th day that they were brought to Mehrazad and Mehrabad and all that. And Baba was at Guru Prasad. He didn't come here.
Well, maybe he was in the thing in Bund Gardens.
Yeah, but then on the 10th day Baba left for Meherazad. And so on the 10th, in the early morning, he went to Bund Garden and sat under that mango tree, which Baba Jan's tree as we used to call it. Yeah, there were two Baba Jan trees.
Yeah.
One was at Bund Garden, this mango tree, and the other where her samadhi is, her shrine is. That's the neem tree under which she sat there. So these were the two trees.
So when at Bund Garden, early on one of the very early tapes, you had described your family going to Bund Garden.
That's right, yeah. Same place, yeah. It was quite an open space there, you know.
Yeah.
The gardens start, there was a hedge there, and to the right of the hedge was the gardens, and here was open space. And beyond that was the wall and the river, yeah. If you have been to Bund Gardens, you might.
It's a long time.
Yeah. So this guy, yeah. You remember the tree? That big tree?
I remember the big giant tree.
Yeah, that's a very ancient tree. It's still there. And they built a big platform around it.
In honor of Baba Jan?
I wouldn't know. No.
Just because it's a big tree?
It's a sort of tourist place, you know, and visitors flock the gardens and all that. So on the 10th Baba was there, and then all the eastern and western people congregated there. And that was the final farewell to Baba. For so many Westerners, it was the last time they saw Baba physically. And quite a lot of tears flowed that day, yeah. And they felt as if when Baba left in the car, that their hearts were going along with him, yeah. So they all bid a tearful adieu to their beloved. And Baba was waving till the end. And I think he would come in Addi's car or something and then cross the Bund Garden Bridge, and the women would be at the other side of the bridge, waiting at the corner. Then Baba would get transferred to that car. Yeah. So the women wouldn't be at the Bund Gardens. Yeah. That's how the arrangement would be, always. So in the quiet of the place there, the interchange would take place. Yes, so that ended the great East-West gathering function. And then of course they all returned home here, and for many days Baba would remember with much love all the incidents that occurred. Mani and all would write to us sometimes or tell us. And so it went on for some time. And then of course it was time for me to come to Meherazad.
Right, your annual one-month visit.
Annual 1 month. So
Which month was it this?
Sometime towards the middle of January or the second or third week of January. Yeah. And then I would stay till the end of February. Yeah. So I was at Meherazad, and this is now 1963, I think.
They mentioned, yeah, that's right, when 140 men and women of Ahmednagar had Baba's darshan.
Yeah.
So you arrived by then, 13th of January.
Yeah, so I must have been there in the middle of January or something. This happened on 13th January, yeah. So that day, suddenly we find a car coming, and it was Begum Akhtar, and I think Golwalkar was also with her. So Golwalkar was the music director of All India Radio Pune. So
was this the man who helped with the East-West gathering? No, there's someone who was a prominent figure in Pune who helped with a lot of the arrangements of the East-West gathering.
That was Bapu Sahib Shinde, I said?
Yeah, must be, or I don't know.
You mean the tents and all that?
With the sound equipment.
The sound equipment and everything.
All India Radio.
Oh, I don't know that.
You mentioned last time.
No, that was Bapu Sahib Shinde. He was a Baba lover from the Pune center who helped in all these arrangements. Yeah. That was different. This was, he was related with the music part of the whole thing. So he was in touch with the leading artists of the country, and he had in fact written to Begum Akhtar earlier, because Baba liked to hear Begum Akhtar singing. So Golwalkar knew about this and he wrote to her because they were fast friends, But unfortunately, Begum Akhtar was ill at the time and she couldn't make it. This was in the summer of 62, when Baba allowed a few programs to be done before the East-West gathering.
Right.
Yeah. So she wasn't able to come. So then, taking this opportunity, she missed that, So, and she was an extremely busy person because she would be invited all over the country, all around the Muslim world. She was a very famous ghazal singer and had a beautiful voice. And the pathos in the voice was such that Baba liked it very much. Yeah. So she was extremely fortunate to have pleased Baba with her singing. So she came over, and it was her first visit to Baba. So she came and then she knelt down before Baba and tried to excuse herself for not being able to come earlier, and that it was always her wish to sing before Baba, and if he allowed her to sing, then she would like to present a few pieces today. So Baba thinks for a moment and says, "All right, provided you come in the summer and sing to me at Guru Prasad." So she was delighted. She said, "Baba, with great pleasure." So Baba says, "All right, 2 days in Guru Prasad." She says, "Any number of days you tell." So then she sat here, Baba was here, and a small group had come. There weren't many, just a few Manli was here. And
did she have someone to play tabla?
Yeah, her troupe was with her. So she began to sing, and while she sang, tears were flowing down her eyes. She sang with great feeling. Yeah. And she had a lovely voice, and then she was singing her heart out to Baba, as it were. So you can imagine what sort of a thing was produced there. It was spellbinding, I tell you. Yeah. And Baba was so in such good mood that he was encouraging her, and she was giving out all the more of herself, So it was a feast. 3 or 4 ghazals she sang. Then I think it was at that time that there was a professor of Urdu in Pune, and on the occasion of Baba's birthday, he sent a Urdu ghazal composed for Baba on the occasion of his birthday. So it had been sent here. So Baba asked Erach or somebody to just give it to her, so to read. I think it was Professor Dastagir. I don't recollect whether it was he or somebody else, but I think it was he. He was a professor of Urdu in Wadia College or something in Pune, attached to the Pune University. So he had sent this ghazal over. So Begum Akhtar reads the ghazal, and she was so enthralled by the beauty of the verses that she says, "Baba, I must sing this to you. I can put this to music right away." Such a genius she was, yeah. So Baba says, "Oh, that's great, so do it." And just there, she just thought about a nice melody and tune for it, and she sang the whole ghazal to Baba. Right then and there. Those words, she read the words before Baba, and then she put it to music. Yeah. It was a beautiful song. Yeah. All in praise of Baba. Yeah.
And these are the kind of ghazals that Baba liked, what she was singing?
Yes, what she sang. This, of course, was one of Baba's lovers. Yeah. So, but it was nice, and Baba liked it. So that was Begum Akhtar giving a great performance before Baba. And then, of course, she knelt down and she wept, and Baba gave his handkerchief to her and consoled her. And it was a very happy meeting, yes. And then she departed. Then in the afternoon, the Nagar center people came and they sang bhajans and all. I think Golwilkar was there, or I'm not so sure whether. Vatve was there, Vatve. He was a very, very beautiful singer. The term for that is Bhavgeet. Bhavgeet means sort of devotional music, devotional songs. So those are songs of the lovers of the Lord singing in His praise.
This would be
in Marathi. Marathi, very sweet it is. And he had a very, very soft voice, and Baba liked it very much. This Vatve.
He wasn't one of the Ahmednagar.
No, he was from Pune.
Oh,
He had come and sang at Guru Prasad also in one of the previous functions at Guru Prasad, and Baba liked his singing very much. And at that time Baba had presented him with a handkerchief. So I hope they have kept those prized possessions.
That seems to have been the singer's reward.
From the Lord. Yes, so that singing took place in the afternoon, and there was quite a crowd here. Hall was all filled up, and Baba gave this little program there.
Quite a musical feast that day.
That day. So I think it's tea time. We'll resume.
Okay, resuming after tea here.
So as I was saying, the Nagar center people had come that day, and so it was a feast of music and love all around, and they all seemed to enjoy the occasion. And as all good things must have an end, that day also ended. And again Meherazad resumed its quiet routine, because Baba's seclusion was continuing. So much so that Baba had sent out circulars saying that there should be no public celebration of his birthday that year.
Really? That was contrary to the usual practice, right?
Previous to this, it would be celebrated on grand scales. But Baba, that particular year, I think it was the only year in that period that Baba gave this sort of instruction, that none should publicly celebrate his birthday. It should be quiet affair within people's own houses or in the centers. And he also did not wish to be disturbed in his seclusion. So, of course, people were free to send cable greetings, greetings by telegram and all that. But correspondence was strictly prohibited. Even in the earlier years, Baba would keep a ban on correspondence fairly often. And when all correspondence would be stopped for a particular period. So none was allowed to write either to Baba or to the Mandli. But since I had to send things ordered for by Ghaver or Erech or this, so I was allowed to correspond even in those restricted periods. Yeah. But not allowed to give any news of my end or expect any news from Baba's end.
Oh, really? So you couldn't tell about how the family
No,
was?
nothing.
Just
it was,
business only.
yes, anything called for or whatever work that he wanted to be done. So I had to report about that or something like that. But still, the link was there.
Yeah.
A little line at the end, Baba sends love or something would be there. Your letter was read to Baba. Or that sort of consolation was there.
How often would you be writing letters?
It would be Merazad or Satara or wherever Baba would be, quite often, because many things would be required. And so I would...
Once a month, every couple of weeks, something?
Well, probably every week or so, Not anything regular, but depending upon the exigencies of the situation, I would have to write, and was given the permission. While in Satara, to Gaver and Erech, and here also. For Gaver for the women's side needs, and Erech here for the Mandli side. So that would be So as I said, correspondence was totally stopped, and everything was very quiet. The birthday occasion was also very quiet at Meherazad. As usual, the birthday would be a very simple affair, as I have already described several times, I think. That the routine would be that we all had to get up very early that morning, about 3:30 or 4, because Baba had chosen a time rather early, as was his wont all through life, to be early and before time for everything. So before sunrise, Baba was born, And so
that's the cause of the problem. If next time he's born at like 10 o'clock, you can sleep late hours.
I doubt if we would ever do that. So we had to get up much before sunrise, to be ready in time, to be in the hall, and then we'd all line up here, and the staff would be also around. And at the stroke of 5, dead 5, we had to shout Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai 7 times. That was the main thing. Loud enough for Baba to hear in his bedroom there. And the women would do the same thing there with Baba. And then Erech would recite the Parvardigar and repentance prayers. And that was it.
Simple.
And then we would be rewarded with a sumptuous special breakfast of sev or rava or something, sweet dish, as is the custom amongst Indians, and especially the Parsis and Iranis. And good aloba tea to wash it down with, and some fresh yogurt. That's the usual thing. It's considered an auspicious day's food to begin with. And then Baba would come later and would be with us. We would embrace Baba, and then the usual correspondence about the piles of telegrams and cables that would be pouring in, and Baba would want to send sometimes a special message to someone if a center is being inaugurated or something. Many new centers would be inaugurated on that day, So some such things would occur, and then Baba's attention would be there for that. and it would go on. So that was how that birthday passed away, quite in a very quiet manner.
What were typical days like here at Meherwan at that time? What would you do? What was when you came?
I would be, when Baba came here,
he'd come every morning?
Yeah, he would come every morning from the women's side. And the usual routine was that the lift chair would be taken there from the hall to Baba's porch there. Baba would come out from his bedroom from the inside and then sit on the chair, and mostly Kaka, Bariya or somebody would be there to accompany Baba back with the boys, and then it would be brought here. Francis, if he was there, Francis also would go, and then the chair would be put there near the tin door at the rear side, and then Baba would start to walk up and down in the hall. That time there were no carpets or anything. It was just plain Shabbat floor. That too, it came later. Otherwise, previously it was just dirt floor.
Shabbat meaning the stone, or?
Yeah, Shabbat means that rough farshi,
Yeah.
That's outside on the veranda. Yeah.
Right.
It's the same thing now, below these carpets.
Covered with carpets, yeah.
So Baba would walk about 3 or 4 times, holding Francis's hand or sometimes Eric's hand. And I think we have a film also of Baba pacing up and down.
Baba takes a turn and Francis goes around.
First twirling around. That was Baba's humor, make somebody turn around in a circle like that. Yeah, so then Baba would sit here, and then the later routine was that prayers would be done. So the door would be locked and everybody would stand up. Baba would be helped to stand up, and Erich and Francis and Bhau, I think, were on either side of Baba supporting him while Erich read out the prayer from the book, the Parvardigar and Repentance prayer, and we all stood with folded hands before Baba. And then in the later years, if I remember, not much earlier, but there was a time when Baba would then have this sort of stool brought here near his chair. He would sit down, and then we had to put our right foot on the stool. And then Baba would bow down his head 7 times on each one's foot. And the mandali, whosoever he is bowing down to, had to repeat the name of God of his own religion 7 times while Baba bowed down.
Out loud or silent?
Loud, yeah. So if it was mine, then I would have to say Aur Mazda, like that 7 times. So if Pendu was there, he would say Ya Yazdan. And Aloba would say Allahu Akbar, like that. So each one had to say that loud. And then Baba, that would be the end of the prayer session. Yeah, and then we would sit down, and the door would be unlocked, and then the usual correspondence would start. This is a usual routine when correspondence was allowed. When it was not allowed, well, whatever correspondence was permitted by few workers or whatever work he had, that could be read out to Baba selectively. And Baba would hear that. And then, of course, there was the papers to be read out. But that usually was in the afternoon. Newspaper. The bogus news, as Baba would call it. He would say B. for bogus, and this for paper, So the afternoon sessions would be that, and then of course there would be sometimes at one time the Shahnama was being read to Baba. So Aloba would read the Shahnama in Persian and then translate it in his broken English.
Oh, he would translate also.
Yeah. And this for paper, So the afternoon sessions would be that, and then of course there would be sometimes at one time the Shahnama was being read to Baba. So Aloba would read the Shahnama in Persian and then translate it in his broken English.
Oh, he would translate also.
Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't understand what's going on.
I was wondering, Baba would probably have understood.
Oh yes, Baba understood everything.
But who else would have known?
Nobody else.
Yeah.
So he would translate it, and we would enjoy all those gimmicks.
Heroic exploits.
Yeah.
Big fight.
Heroic exploits. And Francis would be there, and the king of Iran, Francis had named it as Mousy. He was like a mouse, as compared to Rustam and Sorab. They were the giants of his army, and they did all the fighting and the battling to defend the Iranian empire. And this mouse of an emperor used to sit behind his chair and do nothing, according to Francis.
So Baba enjoyed that. I always thought that was rather interesting that Baba had.
So one day Baba asked, do you want this to continue or should we stop this? So Francis said, no Baba, I would like to continue. He asked me. I said, yes Baba, I don't mind. You like it? I said, yes Baba. All right, then let's proceed with it.
Did it go all the way to the end of it?
No, I was there for some time, and the thing was going on. I don't know how much was read. Probably Aloba would remember what sections he read and for how long. Because Baba was in the mood to hear at that time. So probably because of stoppage of correspondence and nothing else to do. According to us, but he was busy all the while, while it would be read, he would be absorbed in his work. Yeah. But yet very attentive, mind you. Something or the other he would pass a remark. So on all spheres his attention was there. Yeah.
So how long would these morning sessions run?
Well, from I think morning 8 o'clock he would be here, 8:30 sometimes, and would last up to about 12 o'clock or 11:30, 12. Then he would go in and have his lunch, take rest, and come back about 2 o'clock for another hour or two. Yes. So this would be the routine. In the early days, Baba would be here even up to evening time. Yeah, in the very early days. But then gradually the time got more and more restricted, and Baba would be returning early in the afternoons, or sometimes Baba would have afternoon sessions in his bedroom itself. Wouldn't come into the hall. So then we would go there, and Diaries would read the bogus news, the newspaper of the day there, or if there's any other correspondence which had come and which required his attention. So Baba would sit on the chair which Kenmore had brought all the way from America. That chair that is there? That sofa chair?
In Baba's room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canmore brought it as a passenger in the plane, you know.
As a passenger.
Yeah, he paid for a ticket.
Put it in the seat.
Yeah. Not on the seat, but yeah.
Arranged
Arranged so that it could be brought. And he was a terrible guy, I tell you.
Blind and doing all these things.
But Baba needs to be comfortable, so but he had got the special angular chair, you know.
Did Baba like it?
Yeah, Baba used to sit on that chair there. So otherwise Baba would sit on the edge of the bed, but usually on that chair because it was quite restful for him.
Yeah. Well, now at 4 o'clock or when Baba would leave here, what would he do then? Do you know?
Then he would have his supper very early.
Supper at 4 o'clock?
Yeah, everything was early with Baba. So about 4:30 or so, Baba would be having his last meal. And then Bhauji would be ready for the night watch.
Starting?
Yeah, but Kaka Baria also would help. There were turns given to Mandli in the early days. Later on it was Bhau the whole night. Yeah. So this would be the routine. And then Baba would sometimes feel hungry late evening or the night. Then the door would be knocked and some food, but Naja would always keep for Baba, you know. Baba would tell her, now don't keep this. I've had my dinner. Now you all eat it up. So she would invariably keep something. And then he would call Naja and say, is there something left? Have you left something for me? I'm feeling a little hungry.
So you had to be on your toes.
So yes, Baba. But I told you not to keep. You didn't listen to what I said. So she said, Baba, but I've just kept a little for you. She would be very particular about Baba's requirements. Over the years, she knew what Baba liked, what he would want, and so always it would be ready for Baba.
It seems like obedience to Baba involved not just doing what he said, but knowing what he would want and doing it without being told.
Yeah, you had to have that feeling for him, you know, to anticipate his requirements. That needed for you to get in tune with him, and for that, all your attention was required to be on him, and that is what he always wanted. The way to forget yourself. The highest form of meditation. Nothing could be better than that. So Baba in practical life made the Mandli undergo this sort of life, you know, of total dedication and one-pointedness to Baba. And they enjoyed it, of course. Although it was terribly strenuous and great attention to everything was required, because the slightest lapse and Baba would invariably know about it and point it out. And that would hurt the Mandli the most, you know, to have failed him in any little thing. So they tried their best, their level best to just anticipate his requirements.